Hello there my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So, I promise you this is the last time that we're going to be talking about the Kylo Ren movie situation, but things just got so much worse. Some new information has come out, and it's pretty shocking to be honest. It shines a light on how Disney feels about Lucasfilm, how they don't really prioritize the studio, and I've got to say, it's pretty disappointing. Alright, so, what's been revealed since the last time we spoke? Well, the playlist just dropped an enormous bombshell. The hunt for Ben Solo was not just in the conceptual phase. It wasn't just an idea that was kicked around, it was a fully greenlit project. And the reason, or should I say reasons, that Disney pulled the plug are more complex than what was initially reported. But just one quick thing before we dive fully in. I understand Star Wars fans' sentiment around this project is pretty mixed. There are those who are absolutely obsessed, say it's devastating Disney didn't allow Lucasfilm to make this, and then there are those who just don't care, who say it's for the best. At the end of the day, bringing Ben Solo back doesn't really make too much sense. He died. And you know, I'm not a sequel fan, but the talent that was working on this makes this such a missed opportunity, even if I don't see the vision that Lucasfilm and some fans do. And like I said, it really is the biggest news topic of the week. There isn't too much else to talk about at the moment, so I figured to wrap up this series of updates, let's close the book. Let's discuss the juiciest of details which only just came out, and then we'll move on. And I hope you do find it interesting, even if the topic isn't very appealing to you. The last couple of days have revealed so much, but the playlist now says this. Sources close to the project emphasize that this was not a loose concept or early pitch. The film, operating under the codename Quiet Leaves, had a finalized screenplay and was entering early prep and staffing stages. Then they say, Disney purchased a fully developed treatment and beat sheet and hired Scott C. Burns, who, and get this, was paid more than any other screenwriter in Lucasfilm history. That alone reframes and changes Adam Driver's original account. He did mention this was being developed for 2 years, but he made it sound like it was just a story idea that he threw out, and Lucasfilm liked it, but Disney said no. They had a final script, they'd paid Scott C. Burns $3 million, and there was a proposed start date. So where did things fall apart? Then they say this, and this first part is a crazy but little known fact. Scott C. Burns was not new to the Star Wars universe. He has a secret writing credit on Rogue One. He's an uncredited screenwriter of the 2016 movie. And that should tell you the caliber, the level of screenwriter we're dealing with. And so they say, according to insiders, Lucasfilm loved it. As well as Kathleen Kennedy and Carrie Beck, Dave Filoni was actively involved in developing the story. The movie was, quote, ready to shoot. And that's when Lucasfilm presented the idea to Disney. And it marked the first time ever that Lucasfilm presented a fully approved project that did not move forward. Now if you're saying, well, that doesn't make sense, there are tons of projects that never move forward. Some of the announced and then cancelled Star Wars movies never had a single script. This one did. That's the difference. The final script was done, the budget was worked out, they presumably scouted for locations, and even had a proposed start date. And despite all of that, Disney said no. And this is where things get more complex, because it's more than just the initial reason given by Adam Driver. It's more than just them not wanting Ben Solo to be resurrected. They say this. Sources say Bergman took an unusually long time to read the script. And so after the submission, as a result, the project stalled and Lucasfilm didn't have a clear response. Now look, this is the bit for me that is the most frustrating. Set aside the fact this is a Ben Solo movie, because some of you guys will say, why are we hammering on about a sequel character that died in episode 9? It's not the Ben Solo stuff that matters. It's Disney's approach to Star Wars. The playlist is saying that Bergman was handed presumably a top priority project, an upcoming Star Wars movie, the first since The Rise of Skywalker. This was in 2021, so 2 years after episode 9, and he didn't seem very bothered to read the script. An unusually long time. In kind words, they're basically saying he really couldn't care less. And this is indicative of a wider trend. Star Wars is not a priority for Disney, nowhere near as much as Marvel is. And this is why Star Wars fans are rightly so unbelievably annoyed when you're talking about narrative inconsistencies, when you're talking about disjointed upcoming projects, when you're talking about strange decisions, movies becoming TV shows becoming movies, no narrative thread between all of it, 3 years between seasons of Disney Plus shows. Lucasfilm obviously has a lot of blame, but so does Disney, because this is an example of so many other movies, some of which I'm sure we'll never hear about, that could have been awesome. Examples of Lucasfilm doing something which actually would work, which fans could actually get behind. Now with the Ben Solo stuff, sequel fatigue is very much real, and I'm sure if this did go ahead, there would be tons of fans saying what's the point, or those who just didn't want more of these characters. But like I said last time, there are plenty of fans who are done with the sequels and didn't like episode 9, but still enjoy the character of Kylo Ren, and that's why 2 years after Rise might have been the perfect time to announce something like this. Lots of Star Wars fans were getting back into the franchise thanks to Mando, Book of Boba Fett was on the horizon, Obi-Wan Kenobi, excitement was still there, so I think fans would have been more forgiving, but of course, Disney said no. Of all of the studios they own, Lucasfilm just never feels like a priority, and I've been having this hunch for years and years. At D23 events, we have gotten some Star Wars trailers, but Star Wars always feels like an afterthought. It never feels like the main event, and I don't know if that's because Disney resents the fans, or what I think's going on, an internal conflict between Kathleen Kennedy and Alan Bergman, Walt Disney Studios president. The playlist says this: when he and Iger finally responded, their primary concern was narrative continuity, so how Ben Solo could be alive. But it's noted the way Lucasfilm went about the resurrection was clear and creatively sound. But the decision wasn't just based on this. Several people close to it interpret the decision as politically motivated, coinciding with Iger's efforts to position Bergman as his successor at Disney. So some internal tensions between Kathleen Kennedy's career and that of Alan Bergman. This affects so much of what's been, and I guarantee you, my friends, what's coming up. But the article finishes by saying that Driver's recent comments are the final nail in the coffin, but some Star Wars fans are not convinced. In my last video, we spoke about ways that maybe Lucasfilm could bring this back, or at least try to. And finally they write, Lucasfilm did not respond to press inquiries for this story. I'm not going to parrot those who say Kathleen Kennedy is entirely off the hook, but there is more to it than this idea that she's just trying to destroy the Star Wars brand. They'll make Captain America Brave New World, but Ben Solo gets rejected because Disney doesn't trust the people who make Star Wars, narratively speaking. But with that said, my friends, I think we'll close the book on the Kylo Ren updates. Please go check out the others if you haven't done so. Let me know your thoughts. What do you make of all of this new information? Share your thoughts down below, my dear friends, and may the Force be with you always.